What's good, everybody? Welcome to Bet and Breakfast on a Saturday, 11 o'clock a.m. on the East Coast. I'm Reed Wallach. Alongside me is my guy, Donovan Smoot. We got you covered. Weekend, everything. We have the French Open starting tomorrow in the U.S. We have NBA playoffs. We're going to be breaking down last night's Warriors comeback win to go up 2-0 on the Dallas Mavericks. And looking ahead to tonight, Heat Celtics game 3 from the TD Garden in Boston. But let's start. Donovan, happy Saturday. What's up, man? How you doing?
I'm doing good, man. I'm doing fantastic, especially after we had a pretty good night in terms of like prop betting
Yeah.
from BetSlip. I think the only one that didn't hit was Kleber over 7.5 points. But outside of that, I think we had a pretty good night. So I'm good. I'm waking up this morning feeling really good.
Yeah. The accounts a little bit, some bigger numbers in there, always nice. I did lose my first bet slip baseball game
I
of the
saw.
year. So I am human. It was a tough pill to swallow, but I guess that's why the Tigers are as bad as they are. That's why you just don't bet them. They're a bad baseball team. But yeah, I mean, I think even our like game handicap, we were talking about the over game was a shootout. I know Dallas didn't cover, but I think, obviously a much more competitive game too. I mean, they were covering for 42 minutes of the game, 43 minutes of the game, and then they couldn't get a stop down the stretch. But I definitely think, it pays to listen to BetSlip. I think we gave a great handicap. And, looking ahead to game threes in the next 2 days, we're going to get to that probably about 20 minutes or so. But I want to start here with Chase Center. It's not Oracle, but it has its moments. But when the Warriors are cooking like they were, down 19, they come back. They end up winning 126 to 117. The Warriors are cooking. Steph gets going. Poole gets going. The whole team is pouring it on this Dallas team who has no answers. But it just seems like they feed off the crowd. The crowd is like infectious. That it just gets louder and louder with every Steph three, with the Poole threes now. Like it really feels like it's into it. Have you ever seen a crowd like this or I guess a team like this that just feeds off this energy of their crowd?
I hmm, I don't know. I think the Warriors are very like specific in that just because like the Bay and Oakland fans specifically across any sport, like whether it's the A's, formerly the Raiders and the Warriors, like having those Oakland fans, they are so just like I've been to Oracle, right? I went to
Mm-hmm.
Oracle. I went to Oracle the last year that it was up, and I went to like a regular season game. I saw it was Warriors Cavs, and Steph ended up dropping 40 that night. And it was electric. It was awesome. And I'll say this, I don't there's like two or three things that I truly feel like rival anything in sports whenever Steph gets hot at home. Because Steph is the last player that I feel is like connected to a franchise and a community the way that he is. So like they've seen his entire career, they've watched him grow up. He is, the Bay. And so I think that even the Chase Center, as much as I can't stand it, they've done a really good job of trying to, get that Oracle spirit going.
Yeah, and I mean, it's hard not to go nuts when someone like Steph Curry is just in a zone like that. I
Yeah.
mean, the Warriors, they scored 41 points in the fourth quarter to complete that comeback, go up 2-0 on the Mavericks. And so we were discussing, in our pre-production meeting, just bumping ideas around, just like the best atmospheres in sports, because the Oracle crowd for sure, I think, is up there for one of the best crowds ever, because it's also the team. They're so electric. Like it's hard not to fall in love with that team and go absolutely nuts. I know the Chase Center, it's a little bit different now. It's a new stadium, maybe a newer crowd, but you could
That's a, that's
see,
a that's a way to put it. A newer
yeah,
crowd. Yeah.
but it's not the same people filling the stands anymore, and that's was I think a big complaint for the Warriors when they made the move over. Obviously, the pandemic had a factor to it, but even like Warriors fans I follow on Twitter, they make fun of the Chase Center. They don't treat it like it's Oracle, which that makes sense. But you could see the crowd really come alive last night, especially. And I tweeted a picture. Steph's new like almost like his like dagger celebration of the like go to sleep.
Yeah.
It's great. It's great stuff. But my favorite atmosphere I've been to, and I think it holds up, and it's funny because I'm not a huge soccer fan, but I've been to Barcelona before when Messi was there. I, you know, I went to a Barcelona. It was Barcelona Chelsea. I probably this is bad prep by me, but I won't pull it up real
Worldly
quick.
man. That's nice.
But I went to a Champions League. It was 2018. Yep, Barcelona Chelsea. I went at Camp Nou with my dad. Actually, we were visiting Barcelona, and they were playing Chelsea in Champions League. And my dad doesn't know a lick about soccer, wouldn't know a thing. But we went, and the crowd actually worships Messi. Obviously, he's not there anymore. He's with PSG. But at the time, like literally, like anytime he touched the ball, the place would go like nuts. And when
Yeah.
he'd fall, you'd hear like screams as if like he was like shot. Like it was crazy. And he scored 3 minutes into the game. Place was going nuts. They win 3-0 in the first, I believe it was the first leg. Yeah. No, it was the second leg, actually. I take it back. It was 1-1 on aggregate, and they scored in the third minute, and they're like, oh, this is over. So,
Yeah.
but the crowd was so loud. The place was rocking. It's this old stadium, but it's also massive. It seats like over 100,000 people. Absolutely insane atmosphere. And obviously, soccer is just different there. It's like that's just all it is.
Yeah.
And so that was, in my opinion, the best atmosphere I've ever been in my entire life. And me and my dad didn't know a lick about anything. We were just watching. He scored 150 seconds into the game. We didn't even know what was going on. It was crazy.
That's honestly some of like the best times is when you don't know anything and
Hmm.
you can just like walk into a place and kind of just like appreciate it for what it is. And
Exactly.
just
Yeah.
like
Like I was like naive to everything. I was like just going in like with like the naked eye and like this is just all it is to me.
yeah, and so like you literally get the chance to just be there and like experience it with everybody else and like live vicariously through everybody else who's like lives and dies with it. So like
Mhm.
that's super fun. So I have two options.
All right, let's hear
One, so one I've never been, the one spot I've never been to, the other I have. So the one that I've never been to, but just looks insane. I think that when the Steelers are at home
it. Okay.
and it's rocking and they are like they're waving the towels and everything and
Yeah.
it just like feels loud, that feels like one of those atmospheres where I'm like I need to be there. And they have a they I forget what the name of the song is, but they have a song that they play at the start of the fourth
Yeah.
quarter.
It's funny. I probably
You
should.
know, you know what song I'm talking about.
It's
And I
after the
actually,
third quarter.
yeah, it's either like after the third quarter or like before a like a big
Renegade.
drive.
Yeah,
Yes, right.
Renegade.
And they'll go and play Renegade, and the whole stadium is just rocking, and the towels are going, and like visually on TV, it just looks so cool. So I think that the Steelers and Heinz Field, that whole thing is probably one of the best atmospheres in football. The other one that I've been to, and listen, we can't not say it, Madison Square Garden. Like that's just the clear one. I went
As
to
much as I hate it, it's true.
it's because it doesn't matter. It doesn't matter what the stakes are. It doesn't matter like what's going on, who's playing. If you walk from the moment you walk onto the sidewalk where the garden is, you feel you feel a history of every single event, every concert, every speech, every game, any type of event that's ever happened in that venue, you feel it. And so like you listen, the Knicks were 500 and playing the Hawks in the playoffs last year, and you could have sworn that was the Eastern Conference Finals.
Yeah.
It,
I'm
it's
surprised you
it,
didn't say the Barclays Center.
Stop it. Stop it. You can get into Barclays for $5 and still nobody goes. I don't want to hear about that. Like the Madison Square Garden, it's the best venue in all of basketball. It's arguably one of the best in all of sports. And so that I would have that as like a top three, hands down, three at the absolute worst in terms of like American sports. Madison Square Garden has to be right there.
Yeah,
And
no, I
yeah,
no gripes here. As much as I hate the Knicks, I do completely agree.
yeah,
Um, but yeah, no, That Warriors comeback though, and the crowd getting into it, that definitely made me think about like what are the best crowds. I think you have to put maybe not the Chase Center, but this Warriors dynasty, whatever you want to call it, this the Steph Curry era
Yeah.
Warriors fandom, like they are a different level of fans.
Well, and okay, please excuse this rant that I'm about to go on because
Go, please.
truly hate the Chase Center. I think the Chase Center is a representation and a symbol of everything that is going wrong with sports. It is the mark of just corporate America and corporate money coming into sports and making everything so top heavy. And like I was watching Inside the NBA last night, and they had the chef come out and he's making all the food for the crew, and it's like all the food that you can get inside, and obviously this is like the food that you get the sweets. We used to bringing out some steaks, some fancy pastries and stuff, and Ernie asked him like, "Oh, how much is that steak going to run you?" He's like, "It's $175." If
Mm.
you are at a sporting event and you pay for a steak and you pay for a nearly $200 steak, you are what's wrong with everything. The Chase Center, they abandoned their fans in Oakland. They priced them out. They have this entire just setup that it just doesn't feel the same. They finally got the t-shirts right. They finally put the yellow t-shirts
Mm.
on the seats rather than the black ones that they were sporting for the first two rounds. The Warriors and the Chase Center is gentrification at its finest, and I hate it. It's awful, and I wish
Gotta
so
cash
bad.
in, man. That's
I
big business for you.
it's terrible. It's the worst thing. It's one of like my biggest pet peeves about the NBA. It's just the Chase Center and all the stadiums that are about to be made that look just like it.
Yeah, I mean
It's
that's just
awful.
how the world works.
It's awful.
Well, good thing we're a sports betting show though. So let's get into it. 2022 French Open gets started. What is it? Early, like in the middle of the night
Yeah,
tomorrow,
like 3 a.m.
3 a.m. tomorrow in the U.S. And Dom, I know you've been keeping an eye on the clay court swing. Tennis is kind of my secret, like that's like kind of my favorite like degen thing to bet on.
Yeah.
I do love myself some tennis, but what do you think here? Obviously we're going to start on the men's side. We do have the
Okay.
odds courtesy of WinBet, so it's become based on the odds a four-man race for different reasons. Four guys in the mix for four different reasons, I would say. Djokovic enters as your favorite plus 160. Carlos Alcaraz, the startup,
The young phenom.
yeah, young phenom, obviously beat Nadal and Djokovic at Madrid earlier this, I believe earlier this month. He's plus
Mhm.
300 now. Rafael Nadal down to plus 425 as he battles injuries, but of course the most decorated clay court player. They have courts named after him at Roland Garros, so obviously anything is on the table with Rafa. And then on Stefanos Tsitsipas, he's on the other side. Those three I just mentioned are all on the same side of the bracket. Stefanos Tsitsipas has the easiest path to his second consecutive French Open final. He's plus 450. So Diamond, what are your early thoughts on? And then after that goes to guys who are 20-1 and such. So those are the only four that I think are worth mentioning as
Yeah.
contenders to win. Tsitsipas obviously has the easiest path, like I said. But what are your early thoughts on the bracket and what you're seeing for this French Open?
Well, so the first thing is, and you've seen it on both sides of the bracket, but so women and the odds makers have clearly said like, okay, this is like tier one, and there's not even it doesn't feel like there's like a tier two of candidates. It feels like there's tier one and then tier three because the drop, right? Like you said that it feels like it's these four. At 45 at plus 450, you have Alexander Zverev, who's still like a fantastic player. He's all the way at 28-1, and he's the fifth highest player on the board.
Yep.
So so right now I think like I feel this way more about the women's side, but there's a lot of value if you're trying to if you're trying to figure out like okay, one of these guys might get upset. We're trying to figure out like who can be in the semifinals, who can be in the actual final and try to like sneak your way in. I think there's a lot of players that are live to be like a really good dark horse. I think that obviously, the side with Djokovic and Alcaraz and Nadal, that side is going to be super, super fun because you have all of these guys. Like Djokovic is the best in the world, but Alcaraz is is coming up as this young kid who can just beat anybody. And then obviously, like, you have Nadal, who like you said, the most decorated clay court player ever. So it's really just, take your pick. And even though that Djokovic is like that guy, I honestly feel like the best two picks would probably be Alcaraz and Nadal, just because they have a little bit more value. And if we're talking about, like, Tsitsipas, even though they come in on the other side of the bracket to get to the final, yeah, most value out of anybody, but he still has to beat one of the other three guys. And I refuse to believe that all three of them are going to get upset. Like, one of them is going to be left standing.
Yeah,
So I think that the winner comes from that top three.
I agree. I don't think Tsitsipas is going to win.
Mhm.
I do think he gets to the final though. I think that to me, Clay is it's a real differentiator. It's you either have it or you don't on clay. And Tsitsipas is he's a very, very, he's, dare I say, great clay court player. It just sucks
Yeah.
that there's three guys that are literally lights out the best ever to do it on clay. So I do think Tsitsipas does get to the final. Um, I kind of lean towards Djokovic.
Okay.
Not at these odds necessarily. I think it might be take your pick. If I had to pick a winner though, I would take Novak. I think Rafa with the injuries, not someone to bet against on clay, but I gotta do some more work on these injuries. I may want to wait and see how he looks because if he's not in peak form, it's tough to go on a run. Like if he's gonna have early rounds where he's not winning in straights, he's kind of building up. Because with these majors, you got to win obviously the extra set. If you're not rolling early and you have to take you have to play 4 sets, you maybe have to go 5 sets. That's an extra 2 hours on the court a day. That builds up as you make a run when you're going to run into a Novak Djokovic a little earlier than expected, before the final, or a Carlos Alcaraz before the final. So I think Nadal is definitely, a concern. I'm not betting against him because, he's Rafael Nadal. We just discussed that. I do think, though, he is going to go a little early this time around. I know his clay court record is, I believe, like 137-4 or something. I mean, at Roland Garros, which is just
Yeah.
absurd. I do think if it's a slam, though, which it is, Djokovic, I'm going to give him the leg up against Alcaraz. I think Alcaraz is the truth. I think he's the real deal, and he's going to be a superstar. But tough spot, Had a big. This is his first tournament where he's expected to win, and I think that maybe that comes into play against a guy like Djokovic, who maybe hasn't had the best clay court swing. He's been battling some things. I know he was sick a little earlier in the season, but if he comes into form, I think he's going to be motivated and he's going to be able to knock out Alcaraz in a 5-set match. And I think he'll take down. If I were to predict it will be the same result as last year's French Open. Djokovic beats Tsitsipas in the finals.
Yeah, and that's very fair. The thing that I would push back on it, and I don't, obviously, like, Djokovic is never like a bad bet.
Yeah.
The thing that I would say in favor of Alcaraz is the idea that we have for Tsitsipas to come into the final on the other side of the bracket. Djokovic and Nadal are in the same quarter. And Alcaraz, even though, like, Alcaraz he's still on the same side, but he's not in that same quarter.
He would meet them in the semis, not the quarters.
Yeah, so like, you're seeing them later. He might have a lighter path to get there, and so he might be a little bit more rested than Djokovic. And if, let's say that Nadal does come out and plays on clay the way that he always plays on clay, and him and Djokovic end up matching up, that was a thriller. That was a thriller that they had last year.
Oh yeah, one of the best matches ever.
Yeah, and so if that comes back, and Djokovic has to come in and play another guy like that in Alcaraz in the semis, and then maybe play, have like 3 straight thrillers. I don't know if he's going to be able to hold up, but I feel like he can get caught in one of those. And so that's what I'm saying. Like, I think, especially if we believe that all 4 of these guys are going to be there at the end in the final 8 and the final 4, then it kind of makes a little bit more sense to go a little bit further down the board. If you see what I'm
So
saying.
what? So what's your best bet? I'll tee you up for that.
I would take I'll take Alcaraz. I'll take the young kid to come in and win this whole thing.
Okay. I mean, that would be a wild rise to start him. I mean, I saw him obviously at the U.S. Open last year when he burst onto the scene. I mean, the guy's electric. He's also like now just an absolutely chiseled out of stone. Guy has a motor like I've never seen. So listen, you can't go wrong. I think it might be a year too early for him, but again, we're splitting hairs. I'm
Yeah.
pumped though when we get into the later stages to see these guys go at it. I will ask you though before we go to the women's side, any early round one bets for tomorrow that you want to share? Um, I know obviously some big lines, but anything you're seeing on the board early that jumps out to you?
Yeah. So, and I'll have a piece coming out on BetSided later today about this, but I think early on, if you still want to bet like on the favorites, the key to doing it is doing it with the exact set score or playing the over under on the games.
Mm-hmm.
That's going to be the only way that you can do it, because if you look at like just the money line on it, these guys are minus 1,000, minus 1,100 in these opening round games. So even to get them at straight sets, a lot of times you're still going to have like a pretty significant amount of juice, and so
Mm-hmm.
the over under on the games is really where you're going to have to lean. So I think that like for Djokovic and Alcaraz, like I think that I'll probably be playing their unders, whatever that line is set at. I'll probably play the under and probably get something around like minus 120, minus 115 for the under on the opening round matches.
Awesome stuff. And really quick, let's hit on the woman's side. Iga Swiatek comes in like a freight train from hell.
Yeah,
28 straight matches, I believe it is now. She is a winner of. Obviously, Swiatek, she won the 2020 French. She's the odds-on favorite. This is, you rarely see numbers like this. This is peak Rafa to win the French. This is Serena to win, Wimbledon, the U.S. Open. This is rare air for a young up and coming star. I wouldn't even say up and coming, just a bona fide star.
yeah.
Sarah Halep is a second choice at plus 675,
675. Yeah.
plus 675 at WinBet. Is this Eagles to lose? Obviously, by the odds would indicate that. Do you see any upset potential?
Maybe a little bit, but like the thing that I said earlier is you see clearly here, it's it's three tiers. You have Iga in her own, and then Simona Halep, who's the only one that can like kind of challenge her right now, and then everybody else. The third person on this board is at 25 to 1, right? That's absolutely insane. So I think that you can maybe go down. I wrote earlier this week about some dark horse picks
Mm.
for the women's side. I think Arena Sabalenka is very she's very live to make a run. I think that anybody who's gonna win this is obviously going to have to go through Iga, and I think that they'll probably have to beat her in the final. But this right here is absolutely insane to have her be the odds-on favorite right now. Like Ashley Barty retired after the Australian Open,
Because you knew
and
Iga was coming.
yeah, and there was kind of like this hole for who's going to step up and be the number one player. And Iga just said, "Listen, I'm calling my
I'll,
own
I'll
number."
take I'll take ball.
Yeah, she's like, "I'm calling my own number," and she's taking it and ran with it. So I think this is for sure hers to lose. But and if there were to be an upset, it's going to be in the final. So we're just gonna have to wait and see who's going to be at the end of the road with her in 2 weeks.
Love it. Awesome
Yeah.
stuff from Donovan on the French Open. And if you want some more, make sure you're going to BetSided. Donovan's going to have a full, day by day preview and some dark horse picks over on BetSided. Now we're going to switch. We're going to go back. We started with basketball. We're going back to basketball. We let off with it, but the Warriors go up 2-0 on the Dallas Mavericks. Erase a double digit second half deficit. Go up 2-0 in the Western Conference Finals. Dallas enters game 3 favored by 2. Similar setup, I think, to this the Phoenix series from last round. Donovan, what are your takeaways from this game? I know we kind of touched on it earlier, but what are your thoughts? I guess let's go big picture. Are you done with Dallas? You think they're done?
Well, I mean, yeah, I didn't have Dallas in this series, so this is
Mhm.
kind of this is very very on par. I think that there's three big things that I took away from this. One, Dallas, it's like there's no chance that Dallas can win this series because I thought that they would have a chance to at least make it interesting. I had Golden State in 6 at the beginning of this. I honestly think that they might win in 5 because if you were going to win a game and you need a split in Golden State, game 2 is the game to get it.
Oh
When
yeah,
you're
of
up,
course.
when you're up 19 and everything's rolling, and then you decide in the second half to just revert to everything that wasn't working in game 1, that's just that's low basketball IQ from them. So that's one. Two, Kevon Looney might win the first Magic Johnson
I think he's the favorite too.
conference finals award. He's been fantastic. He's been awesome. He had like yeah, he was great in game 1 playing defense on Luka. And then he goes out last night, has a career high, has 20 and 10. Still, and again, Dallas tried to attack him at the start of the third quarter, and he was saying, no, like you're just like this is a bad idea, but I'll let you guys keep trying to keep, trying me like that. And he held his ground. So that's 2. 3, and what I think is the biggest thing, and it gets lost because of the game that Kevon had. But last night was the best Steph Curry game that we've seen in about 2.5 weeks. And Steph finally was efficient from 3, and he looked comfortable running around. Like there was maybe 2 threes that I saw from him where they looked like forced shots, and one of them was at the end of the third quarter where he takes it, he tries to get a dagger to bring him within 2, and the ball tips back out to Wiggins. Wiggins hits the 3. That was one in the third, and then he had one in the first half. But and I said this on BetSided yesterday, if Steph Curry is Steph Curry, right? Like if he's shooting 42, 43% from 3 in these playoffs, the Warriors are unbeatable and they're going to win a championship. So seeing Steph be efficient at the free throw line and efficient from behind the arc at a Steph Curry type level, that was a really, really big deal for me. So those are my 3 biggest takeaways from last night's game.
Yeah, I think Dallas let Golden State back in the game by a bad third quarter that included just going at Kevon Looney, I think, and we'll get into like if I think Dallas has a chance, but there are holes in this Warriors defense to exploit, whether it's Steph Curry, Jordan Poole, Klay Thompson. Klay Thompson's just not that good of a defender anymore, especially in a playoff setting. But they continue to go at Kevon Looney, and that got them into trouble because the 3-point shot was going awry. I still think Dallas, they're going to take a lot of threes, and I've said this to you multiple times. They're playing the right game,
Yeah.
right? They need to make the shots though. So by going at Kevon Looney, you are now not attacking someone like Steph Curry who's in foul trouble. Someone like Jordan Poole who can't stay in front of anyone. He just doesn't have high defensive IQ. And Klay Thompson. And Luka got into Klay Thompson, went right by him twice in the first half. That's obviously a gut punch. I still think Dallas can make this a series, though. I do. I really like Dallas in game 3. I'm going to be on them in game 3. I think they're going to get that one.
And that's fair.
I don't know if they can win this series. It's obviously an uphill battle, and they needed that game, try and take home court and make it 1-1. But I'm not going to count them out because while Golden State might be better than Phoenix and more dynamic than Phoenix, Dallas knows how to rally in these spots. And if they're going to get a home court boost in 3-point shooting, why can't they go back to the Chase Center 2-2? In which case, then, again, is it going to happen? Probably not. But I still think there's a chance because, again, they are playing the correct math. They're playing the math style of it correctly. And we saw it in the first half. They built a huge lead because the Warriors were sloppy with the ball, which they tend to do. And the Mavericks were finding holes in the Warriors' defense. It's when they revert back to, we're going to stay in this. We're going to stick around, have the ball stick, and not find Luka and have him be aggressive to hunt mismatches. We're going to go at Kevon Looney. Then that's when they run into issues. I think Dallas is they're competitive in this series. Like I don't know if we're seeing Golden State. Like I think that second half was a little bit more I'd attribute to tired legs from the prior series of game 7. I think game 2, the score at least is more indicative of what the series is. I think it is a competitive series, if that makes sense. Maybe not in like the record might not even if the Warriors win in 5, like you said, I don't know if they're gonna like just blow them out the gym. You know what I'm saying?
I think okay, that's fair. Here's what I think is going to happen for the rest of the series now. I
Okay.
think Dallas, I'm with you. I think Dallas
I'm
gets
just pulling
game
up
three.
numbers on my phone while you're
Okay.
talking.
I think you're right. I think Dallas gets game three. However, I think that Golden State gets game 4 and 5 and they wrap it up at the crib. And that's how we
Do you
go.
think
Because
blowouts?
I think game 5 will be a blowout. I think the
Like it gets
closeout
away
game.
from them and they throw in the towel.
Yes, I think the closeout game is a blowout. I think game 4 they end up just using that championship grit to do it because even in the Memphis series, that Memphis series should have been a 5-game series. It should have been 5 games, but they
It should
went.
have.
Yeah,
I'd argue it almost should have been a 7-game series.
there's no way
They looked terrible those last 3 games. And
they
they hardly
should
won game 1.
they listen that
What
should
game should they have won?
they should never have been blown out by 50. They should have went
Oh, I
to
mean, you're saying they should have won the game? They lost by
my my
35. You can't like
my
give them that
my
game.
if I'm talking about pregame expectations and
Oh
like the
yeah,
way
well they were favored.
and to no, but like even like aside from that, they were favored in every game that series, right?
Mm.
They I'm saying the Warriors and the way that they should have come out, it was no job for the second game. I understand the Grizzlies coming out in that series and playing with a lot of fire in that first game without job because listen, like that's what they've done the entire series, the entire season. They were 20-5 without Morant. Listen, cool. That's your steez. You guys know how to handle yourselves. But game five, even though the game 5 was in Memphis, it should have been it clearly should have been more competitive. There's no reason for the Warriors to have gone down by 50, and that was just like insanely hot shooting. But I think that series should have went 5. Dallas in this situation, they were able to capitalize on Chris Paul having 2 horrendous games in 3 and 4. Now, whether or not that's because of the defense or Chris Paul just isn't up to the task in these situations or he was actually hurt with the quad injury, whatever you want to say, I think that one of those games in this series will be won by the Warriors. I think that Steph Curry is much better than Chris Paul. I think Jordan Poole finally woke up last night, and that's going to be a big deal. The only question that I have is, like, is Draymond Green going to be able to stay on the floor? Because, and not even from a personal foul standpoint, from a technical foul
He
standpoint.
should have been ejected last night. Like I think it's
Yeah,
ridiculous what he gets away with on the court. Like I obviously like I have the Mavs to win the West and stuff. First of all, he was terrible, so like I almost wish he stayed in the game. But like I don't get like how about that technical foul Finney Smith got where Draymond
oh yeah.
started that? Like what are we doing? Like I don't like. I understand you don't want to throw someone out of the game and stuff, and I completely get
At a
you don't.
certain point, you have to though.
You can't just let the guy run around yelling and stomping his feet like a kid. Like it's not fair to the other team. It's just straight up not fair. Because you can't have him just yelling incessantly. Like at a point, you gotta be like, listen, like one more and you're done. Even like they were saying on the broadcast, like Steve Kerr's like, just play the game, man. Like it's like
Yeah,
annoying. If I had to
uh,
guess, he gets thrown out in game 3. When the Mavs
I
go up like 15 again, like he'll just get tossed.
yeah, I think
You know, like he was
also
like a minus. He was like a minus. I don't know what he ended up in the game, but when the
I
Warriors
think
came
he
back,
was
he was a
minus
minus 7.
34.
He was a minus 17. They were down by 2.
Let me
But
see.
I will say on the Warriors, I think they're just an unserious basketball team, to be honest, with the turnovers and the sloppiness. I just they go on runs and they run hot and cold, but like I don't know. I just don't see them as this juggernaut team that they're being made out to be. And just back to me defending Dallas, at least from a scoreboard perspective, it does look very, very similar to the Phoenix series where Golden State shot lights out from the field. They shot 56% again from the field. That comes on the heels of if I could pull it up fast enough on my phone. That's the wrong game.
Also to your points, so Draymond was minus 19 last night.
So he was still a minus in the fourth quarter, and they went up, and that's when they blew it open. Wait, really quick, just so we can keep moving to Boston.
Yes.
Golden State shot 56% from the field in both games. But Dallas has done a very good job of limiting their three-point shots, of Golden State's three-point shots. They've taken less than 30 in both. Dallas has taken over 40 in both. So again, they're playing the math correct. They're forcing them inside. It's how do they stop them getting from scoring inside? That's where the real key is, where I think Dallas, if they could figure out how to defend them and maybe get some regression on the road, I think that with a three-point bump, if they could sustain from three, I think that they're able to taking both these games and making it 2-2 going back to Chase Center.
I would say this: you can't. Dallas is not capable of doing both. If you are going to run Golden State,
you think Golden State could shoot 56% from the field again? That's that's what Phoenix did in the first games, and then they cooled off.
If every shot that they take is at the rim, then yes, I think if
that's where they have to figure it out.
Yes,
but I still think schematically though they're doing the correct thing. They
offensively correctly. Offensively, yes, but defensively, if you are going to run them off the line and if you are going to trap Steph on every single pick and roll, then you are playing 4-on-3 defensively and letting them get whatever in the paint. They had 62 points in the paint. If you're playing 4-on-3 below the free throw line, it's a wrap. Especially when Draymond has the ball.
So many just just pitching.
Exactly. Especially when Draymond has the ball in the short roll. So
another big stat from last night.
Yes,
they're plus 13 on the glass. That's you're trying to win. You gotta minimize their extra chances. So I do agree. I still think Dallas has a chance to make it competitive.
5-game series.
Donovan thinks 5. Let's move on. Celtics Heat tonight from Boston. Celtics, of course, go absolutely thermonuclear from 3 in Miami. They even the series at 1-1. Celtics overwhelming favorites to advance to the finals. Donovan, thoughts on this game? We'll start with just this game, and then we'll close with what we think for the series. But do you think that this series is a wrap? Do you think that Boston goes up 2-1 here? Obviously, big favorites. This is, looking at compared to the Milwaukee series, Boston was around a 5.5 point favorite in the Milwaukee series at home. Now out to 6.5 against Miami. What's your look for this game?
I don't know what to believe anymore.
I agree. I have no idea.
I'm so lost in this series, and I've been lost on Boston for the last 2.5 weeks because every single one of their wins, something like historic has happened, and it seems like, and I keep saying it, but it seems like a Nexus event. Like in game 2, they shoot 65% from 3 in the first half. In game 4 against the Bucks, Al Horford has a playoff career high and has like 16 in the fourth. In game 6, Jason Tatum probably plays the best game that he's ever played and scores 46 points and is hitting nothing but net. And then in game 7 is the Grant Williams legacy game where he hit 7 of 18 threes. And then you have last night where everybody comes out and Jaylen Brown starts the game 4 for 4 from 3. Al Horford doesn't miss a shot. Jason Tatum, once again, is like insanely shooting. And as a team, they shoot over 50% from 3. I have no idea what to make of the Boston Celtics because I don't know if this is who they are now or if they just keep being inconsistent and we're just going to keep banking on them having these insane highs and insanely low lows. So I'm honestly lost and frustrated and defeated at trying to handicap this entire series.
I agree. I mean, I was kind of a believer that these games were going to be rock fights and very, very low scoring, like first to 100 wins. It just hasn't been that. It's been a 3-point parade and, up tempo, a lot of transition opportunities. I kind of want to look towards the prop market. I do think Boston, I liked Miami in game 1. I ended up betting Miami in game 2 because I just thought the line was a little egregious, but I still liked Boston in the series. I know that sounds counterintuitive, but I do think Boston is the better team. I don't want to kind of go near side in this, I guess, total. I still kind of lean under, but just no real interest. Like we said, if Boston's going to shoot, 50+% from 3, then Miami
can't do anything.
Miami can't keep up. They don't have the shooting. I do think if Miami's able to figure out the defense, I do think Jimmy Butler is game to keep up with this Boston defense. And listen, if Miami could figure out the perimeter, which I don't think is out of the question if Boston takes a step back. I know they're going home, but if Boston takes a little bit step back from 3, I think Miami is kind of game to hang here. 2 things to keep an eye on. Bam Adebayo, what are you going to? I think he needs to take a step up on offense. It can't just be Jimmy Butler, Max Strus, bomb threes. I don't even think it's Tyler Herro. I think Bam Adebayo needs to be a bigger factor. I think he has to push closer to 20 points for Miami to have a chance in this one. Also, PJ Tucker. It was an ankle injury in game 1, and now I believe it was a knee injury, a knee confusion, I believe they're calling it. It seems like he's going to play, but guy's 37 years old. Is that going to start to wear and tear? Miami's starting to run out of available bodies, especially with Kyle Lowry. He's going to be out again, I believe. If so, how effective is he going to be? Duncan Robinson, I don't think, could be relied upon. Where are you getting the 7-8 guys to keep up with this Boston defense that has the size to, really cause a lot of issues? We know that best defense in basketball. So I guess if I had to lean on this one, I would lean towards the under again. Just I think that these Boston has to come back to earth from 3.
It's funny you say that we thought that the series was going to be first to 100 wins. It's from the way that these first two
you're just not missing.
It's first to 60. The first 2 games have been raced to 60, and whoever can get there and blow the other one out first is
these teams. They're just absolutely going off from 3. It's not even open threes. It's step back threes. It's batted balls, catch fire. It's crazy.
So I don't know. I agree with you that I think Adebayo has to take jumpers. He has to take, because if you're just going to let Robert Williams stand in the paint all night and just be a pogo stick and block everything and allow him to dominate on the glass, you're not going to have a chance. You need to pull him away from the basket a little bit, and then maybe you can have a chance to rebound over Horford or like over Smart, maybe get some like over the back calls or something like that. But Adebayo has to be much better. He's disappeared. His line today is at 13.5. He's missed that for 4 straight games.
I like him to go over that, honestly.
I hope he does, because I'm pulling for the Heat in this series. I thought that they were going to win in 6 prior to the series. So I hope that he can step up and maybe Miami can steal home court advantage back. But this Boston defense is just so good. They're everywhere.
So as we are looking, I just took a quick scroll through Twitter. Spoelstra says Tucker and Lowry both will warm up with the intent to play tonight. That's kind of how the Heat have been phrasing it this entire postseason. So it does seem like Lowry's going to play.
Okay. Now, the question is for Lowry, is he going to be able to shoot? Because his offense has not been there basically like all season. Like, obviously he
looked awful in the Philly series. He ended up basically he just wasn't healthy. He wasn't healthy enough to play. He looked terrible.
Yeah, but Gabe Vincent has done a very solid job. He's been very serviceable. He's hit a couple shots. If Lowry comes in tonight, he's gonna have to at least shoot as well as Gabe Vincent. I think defensively he might be able to help on Marcus Smart a little bit, and you can put Lowry on Smart there, and then have Butler and Tucker handle Brown and Tatum, and do that, and then you won't have to you won't have to spread yourself too thin.
But I don't know what the expectation is for Lowry. He just looked so bad in that Philly series. I'm going to go in with very low expectations. Yeah. But listen, those are the things that swing a series. Like if you could get, first of all, one, Kyle Lowry, who I was a hater on way back when, before he rightfully got his ring and all that. So I've admitted my wrongs on Kyle Lowry. But listen, if the guy could give you just a lift, like give like one game, that's what you need. You got to get one of these Boston. You got to try and get it. You got to try and extend this series. If Larry could give some sort of championship effort, and I don't want to get all narrative-y and cliche, but if he could really just unload on one game and give up, that's the difference. Maybe that these are the things that turn a series. So I'm definitely interested to see what we get out of Larry. There's also a chance he just looks awful. So
I'll tell you this: the only thing that I can count on tonight is Kyle Lowry will take 1 charge tonight.
Okay.
He would take 1 charge.
So that's your new best bet. But what is your original best bet as we get? I know we're not looking side and total in this one, but I know we each are on a prop. You're on Miami. I'm on Boston. So let's hear what's your best bet.
I'm going with the only thing that I can trust for Miami right now, and that's Jimmy Butler over 26.5 points, minus 115. Jimmy's the only one, him and Max Strus. But in terms of like creating offense and being the driving force, Jimmy's the only one that I know that I can bank on. Because even last game when they're down by 30, he still scores 29. If Tyler Hero isn't going to be a factor offensively in terms of creating his own shot, if Bam Adebayo is going to look scared to play offense, then the Heat's only way to stay competitive on that side of the ball is with Butler driving the offense. And so
Yep.
he's gonna have to take all of the shots. And there were a couple times early, and I think Van Gundy said it as well, where Butler made the mistake because he was looking to pass and he was making moves in order to pass and set up other guys instead of to score. He's gonna have the ball in his hands. He's gonna take a whole bunch of shots. And he scored 41 and 29 in 2 games.
Yeah.
So this line is at 26.5. Jason Tatum is at 27.5.
You're
Butler
not going back there?
I'm made for Tatum, but the point that I have in bringing up Tatum is Butler's line should be exactly the same as Tatum's every single game, if not more. Like they are that close together in terms of scoring output and scoring necessity for the. Well, actually, no. Butler's scoring is much more needed
Yeah.
on Miami than Tatum. So I think that this line is actually like low key a discount for like a point, and so I'm taking Jimmy Butler. I'm riding
So
with him.
I'm putting you on the spot because I'm also trying to do it in my head. But
Okay.
how many points do you think Miami needs to win? Needs to win this game? Just throw like again, this is like a completely like we're just arbitrary numbers, but like throw out a ballpark. You think they need like
107.
105, 110,
107.
107. Okay, how do they get there?
They get there by Jimmy Butler having 30. They
Bam
get there.
having 20.
Well, it depends if Lowry's playing, but I would say 17 or 18 from Bam, and Tyler Hero having 18. I don't
And
I
probably
don't
Shrews has to get like 15 also.
Yes. Yes. Now, look, I don't know whether Tyler comes from comes I don't know if his points come from the 3-point line or if he's getting points in transition. Another thing that they're going to have to figure out is, and I don't want them to play this way in terms of like playing 4 foul calls. They have to get to the free throw line.
Yeah.
You have to get points. You have to get points when the clock is stopped, and then be able to take a
Set your
step back,
defense.
set your defense, and not play this like up and
Transition
down
opportunities have been a big difference in this game, especially because half court offense hasn't been the easiest. Obviously, Boston, if they're just going to shoot lights out from three, that changes everything. But half court offense has not been easy to come by. And I'm not a proponent of like relying on 3-point shooting too much. You know what I mean? Like hoisting 53s. I don't know. Obviously, if you're Dallas, that's your MO. But for a team like Boston, I'm afraid that the faucet could get turned out. But
Yeah.
speaking of Boston,
Last point. I'm sorry, and I'll let you get yours. So Miami, I saw from Nikai Duncan. So Miami's half court offensive rating in game 1 was 105, which is like I think it's above the league average. In game 2, they dropped all the way down to 85 or 86. Right,
Yeah.
it was a huge deal. So that's what I'm saying. Like the free throws have to be a part of that in order to get that side of the offense going.
Well, I do think in the half court, Miami is going to struggle either way. It's going to be a slog. They're going to need, like you said, find answers at the free throw line, maybe a little
Mhm.
boost from 3, maybe a Kyle Lowry boost. But that leads me to my best bet. Jaylen Brown over 6.5 rebounds. It's plus money. I really like this one. Just a few numbers on Brown. Looking at NBA.com's player tracking data, and I know Al Horford didn't play in game 1, but he had 12 rebounds in game 1 on 15 rebound chances.
Okay,
So
that's
that's
great.
great. In game 2, when Al Horford and Marcus Smart both played, he still had 8 rebounds on 12 rebound chances. To me, it's more about the chances than the actual rebounds, because that means he's around the ball, he's crashing the glass. First career in the postseason, 6.2 rebounds. He obviously didn't play last season when the Nets took him out in 5. In the year before that, I know it was the bubble, but I still think it holds up in this case. 7.5 rebounds that postseason. This season, 6.9 rebounds. I just think at plus money, the odds are in his favor to go over this number. He typically clears it. He's cleared it twice in this series. I like Brown over 6.9 rebounds, especially with that plus money. If we're saying, I think it's more likely than not he goes over versus, you're getting a plus money. So I like Jaylen Brown over, especially if we think this game might be more of a slog and have more rebound chances.
Yeah, we talked about it yesterday. How fun rebounding props are, and
Yeah,
how
that's why I looked at it.
yeah, and that they're so random to bet on. But I like that, especially the plus money aspect of it.
Yep. And that's going to be our show. Bed and breakfast on a Saturday. Gave out a ton of stuff. French Open preview, NBA postseason look. I still think Dallas has a fighting shot. Donovan thinks they're done in 5. We both agreed that we have no idea how this Boston Miami series is going to go. We both kind of guess Boston if they're going to shoot like this. Player props, everything. If you want to go back and check that out. But for daily bets, that's a good segue into daily bet slip. Monday to Friday, 5 p.m. Eastern. Make sure you're checking it out on our YouTube page right here where you're watching it. Also, Wednesdays, we got Jab Cross Hook with myself, Ian McMillan, and Amy Kaplan. And also, if you're on our YouTube page, make sure you're liking and subscribing right below us. And check out, I spoke with Malika Andrews yesterday to get her thoughts on the NBA playoffs and the draft lottery and the NBA draft upcoming. So a bunch of stuff on our YouTube page, a bunch of stuff on our website, BetSided.com, our Twitter page at BetSided. We're everywhere. Make sure you're checking that stuff out. Donovan, best of luck on your bets, and I'll talk to you later.
See you, man.